In this update, we're going to be tracking two areas of low pressure, and one of them is going to be pretty significant as we head into late Saturday, going into early next week. Let's take a look at the water vapor transport index. This is your moisture supply. This is the fuel that's going to fuel these areas of low pressure. The first one is starting to originate now across portions of Colorado into New Mexico. They're going to be looking at some pretty heavy snow across these regions, but you can see the moisture supply streaming in from the Gulf of Mexico. That's what's going to feed this area of low pressure. And here's the second one already starting to come to fruition down here in the Gulf. That's going to be another area of low pressure that will eventually impact a good part of the southeast and up the east coast as we head into late Saturday, going into early next week time frame. So here's the first one. So let's talk about this setup first. We've got winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings in place for the mountains of New Mexico. They're going to be pounded with very heavy snow over the next day or two. Some of these elevations that are higher than 8,000 feet in the ski resorts, could pick up a good 10 to 24 inches of snowfall, but lighter amounts obviously as you head further north. But Colorado Springs could pick up a couple inches out into portions of western Kansas here, western Oklahoma, and that's even a winter storm warning for portions of the Texas Panhandle. Places like into Dalhart could pick up a couple of inches of snow. But looking further south, you can always already see that moisture supply starting to come to fruition as you're starting to see some rain showing up on the map into portions of Texas. And then right around that where that low pressure is, you've got the rain falling as a chilly rain. And there's the second system already showing up on the map in the Gulf of Mexico. In fact, they've got wind advisories already in place for the eastern side of Florida, and that's only going to intensify as we get closer to this event. So if you are new to the channel and like detailed weather breakdowns, hit the subscribe button and you're in. You get all my daily content on this channel, and I would love to reach 225,000 subscribers by the end of the year. You can see I'm almost there, folks, and you can help me get there by subscribing to the channel and following all my daily content. So let's take a look at the first system, because we've got a pretty good vorticity that's going to be coming out of New Mexico, heading up into the Texas Panhandle. That's why the snow is going to be flying. Heavier rain on the right side of that system, and that will fishtail down into Oklahoma, all covering pretty much the entire state of Texas. This is going to be a pretty good soaking rain from this first system, really kind of starting today and then traversing across Texas as we get into Friday through Oklahoma. And eventually this will start feeding into portions of the Gulf of Mexico, at least this piece of energy. What's going to leave behind, this is some of your rain amounts is going to be leaving behind right around that low pressure center. We've got the highest totals, possibly 1 to 3 inches of rain into portions of the Texas Panhandle. And just to the left of that, a lot of this is going to be in the form of snow, and it should be all snow into the mountains of New Mexico and up here in the southern portions of Colorado and portions of western Kansas. But this is all rain, and kind of a chillier rain for Texas standards as this shifts further east and southeast. So Oklahoma is going to get hit, Arkansas, and eventually Texas over tomorrow, with the chillier rain diving southeastward, one inch swath all the way through north, central, and eastern Texas. This feeds into Louisiana as well. But notice the darker colors further south into the Gulf. That's that second area of low pressure that's starting to come to fruition, and that will be more significant than the first one. Here's the latest update on the NAM. This is the high resolution guidance. These are the short range guidances. That's a formidable low pressure center, folks. It's not hurricane season, but we've got a 994 millibar low pressure off the Tampa coastline, pounding some very high winds heading into your late Saturday time frame. And eventually this will likely cross over Florida and get into the southeast, and even get stronger as we head into Monday into Tuesday time frame. So here's some of your preliminary wave heights and wind direction. So you've got the low pressure center that's going to be originating into the Gulf. But look at the eastern side. This is actually the reason why they already have wind advisories in place. And these will likely be upgraded to high wind warnings as we get closer. And some of these waves are going to be pretty significant, upwards to 20-foot swells just offshore. So you're going to have extensive beach erosion along these coastal regions, as this formidable low pressure center will be rapidly deepening as we get into late weekend. And some of these storms will in fact turn severe. And that's going to be into the day on Saturday. I think late Saturday is going to be your prime time event for Jacksonville, getting into Gainesville, back into the Orlando region, into Tampa. Yeah, the low pressure center could come right on shore into the Tampa coastline, down to Sarasota, into the Naples region, and then actually even further south, you head into central and southern Florida. I'm actually concerned for some tornadoes. But look at some of these wind gusts. I mean, this is going to be a pretty significant storm, folks. This is some of the latest estimated wind gusts, upwards to 60 miles an hour as we head into that Sunday afternoon around 1 o'clock time frame. Heading into Orlando, there will be the low pressure center if the NAM is correct with this particular system, as this is going to continue to deepen and rapidly intensify and then move across Florida. But notice further south, we still got 47-mile-per-hour wind gust into Miami. But if the low does track into Tampa, we've got to be concerned about severe storms and tornadic storms a little bit further southward into central and southern Florida. So they already got, some tornado parameters as we head into, late Saturday, heading into that Sunday time frame for Florida. And this will eventually start heading in off the southeast coast. And when it does, yeah, a lot of these global models are still hinting at a pretty rapid deepening area low pressure. This will be a 985 on the latest GFS guidance. Look at those tight isobars. The tighter the isobars, the stronger the wind gust. And we've got pretty significant swells, even larger swells, coming in the shoreline of South Carolina into North Carolina, right into the Virginia Beach area with pounding high winds. And look at the euro. I mean, that's still global model consistency, 987 on the euro. Doesn't take it nearly as far inland, but still has a considerable event, especially if this low pressure center is now, it hasn't even formed yet, right? It's not even formed yet, but we're looking at a pretty significant storm by the time we head into that Sunday time frame. So that we always warn you well ahead of what's to come on this channel, give you a full outlook 7 days in advance. It's not a nowcasting channel, it's a forecasting channel where we forecast well in advance, and this is what's to come with this particular system. So I'm giving you full guidance ahead of this storm with a rapidly deepened low pressure center that's going to be pounding the coast with significant waves, and some of those could approach 20 to 30 foot swells across this region into the Jersey coastline here, as the beach erosion will be significant. So it starts off in Florida, but just races up the coast, folks. I mean, if you live anywhere along these coastal areas along the East Coast, you're going to have pretty significant swells really Sunday into Monday time frame. This is Monday morning. It could potentially be off the coast of the Jersey coastline here with pounding waves, as the low pressure center will actually be inland, spreading in very intense water vapor. I mean, look at that. It's off the chart. It only goes to 1,500. A lot of water vapor with this system feeding the storm. There's a low pressure on the latest GFS run right around West Virginia with pounding waves, the coast, and then heavier rain. Looks to be an all rain event across the East Coast, and then traversing up the coastline. But here's some of the estimated wind gusts, folks. I mean, we're talking pretty much from Florida all the way to Maine. to basically Ohio. I mean, all those areas could easily approach tropical forms, storm force wind gust with this particular low pressure, as it's going to be easily down to, a 985, if not lower at some point across the East Coast. So yes, it's going to be a pretty significant event, and a large event too, encompassing multiple states. At least 20 of them is going to be experiencing this storm heading into, late Saturday, Sunday, and then going into early next week. And yes, continuing through, there's into Sunday night, heading into Monday morning. The latest Euro runs even got it down even lower, a 978 millibar low pressure. The lower the pressure, the higher winds you're going to be associated with this, and then the heavier rains are going to be associated with it as well. So you're going to have a huge swath of 1 to 3 inches of rain, no question about it, heading up the East Coast. And this would likely take you into, again, Monday morning across the East Coast. And hey, if it does continue, there's not much cold air around, right? But if it does continue and shift further inland, that would allow some of that colder air to come in from Canada on the backside. So I'm not expecting much snow with this system, but it's not out of the question you could have a changeover, at least with some lake effect snow that's coming in off the Great Lakes and coming in on the backside, as this would likely swing out into the Northeast, and then you get that backside quick hit, maybe a burst of snow, maybe 1 to 2 inches maximum, if that does come to fruition, especially in the lake event. But yes, if it does turn more inland, that will allow the colder air to come in. So here's the latest icon, kind of implying the same way, with the low pressure taking a more inland track, and then allow that colder air to come in on the backside. And that does come to fruition. Yeah, some low pressures, some lows are going to be, it's not a torch. All you see everywhere is like, oh, torch here, torch there, torch this. You're in the low 20s, folks. That's not exactly a torch. That's actually typically where you would, these lows would typically be, around this time of year. You normally would get lows in the teens up here in Wisconsin, and likely that would happen on Tuesday, December the 19th, right? So there's still some cold air. It's not like, brutal cold or anything like that, but it's not like a torch at any stretch of the imagination. If that low pressure center comes in on the backside, drawing in that colder air, we could see freezes all the way down to Alabama, heading into that Tuesday morning time frame on December the 19th. And yeah, we're not, like I said, we're not expecting too much snow from this system, but you can't rule out maybe an inch or two on the backside, mainly from a lake effect event, because these lakes are obviously pretty warm up here, and these would come in on the backside. But there's that first system, right? That's highlighted over New Mexico now, that will dump a coating of snow across that region into the Texas Panhandle. And then you got that second event coming in on Monday and Tuesday, and this is what's left over as far as the snow purposes go. Not much to speak of. It's mainly going to be just a heavier rain event. But looking into next week and deeper into next week, all eyes will trend out west. And look how far south this one is, folks. By the time we head into that Thursday, Friday, now we're getting into that December the 22nd time frame. But that's going to be pretty far south, folks, and that's going to bring healthier rains back into the picture for Southern California, for Arizona, for New Mexico. These are areas that haven't really seen much. They've been missing out on the opportunities, but there's also guidance showing, hey, that El Nino starting to come more into fruition, right? The further south the subtropical jet stream drops, the further these little vorticities, these area low pressures are able to form. So as they come across the west to the east, then they will put a coating of rain across the southern flank of those, and that would likely come to fruition into Southern California, into Arizona, as we head deeper into Friday and Saturday of next week. But between now and then, for the next 7 days, we've got two setups. First one's originating now over New Mexico. This will be likely all snow across these regions. transferring to some heavier rain on the eastern side of the Panhandle, as well as Oklahoma into Kansas, and then a good coating of rain across Texas and Oklahoma into Louisiana. Then you've got that secondary low pressure center that will form in the Gulf and dump a good 1 to 3 inch swath, even higher amounts isolated across the Florida Panhandle, all the way through Georgia, through the Carolinas, through up the coastline into Virginia, all the way up the I-95 corridor, and then lighter amounts as you push further inland, depending on the exact track of that area of low pressure. But this whole area will be pounded with very high wind gusts along the way as that low pressure will be traversing from southeast to northeast. So guys, I appreciate you guys following. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch me next update while I protect you for and after the storm.